we have great news incoming for Indian chess. We have the second Indian world champion ever and the 18th world champion in chess history, 18-year-old Gukesh Dommaraju, and he is also the youngest world champion ever. And he has beaten the record of Gary Kasparov, and he bet Ding Liren en route his way to the breaking this record in the 14th game and the final game of the World Chess Championship match 2024 being held in Singapore from 25th of November till the 13th of December. It was a very complex game for psychologically for Ding, because Ding was trying to draw this game and take the match into the tiebreaks where he is a clear favorite. But Gukesh, even with the black pieces, he wanted to fight for a win. And Ding started with knight f3, a pretty safe move to start with when you're trying to play for a draw as white. And after d5, Ding plays g3, c5, bishop g2, knight c6, and now d4. So this is kind of a reversed Grunfeld system for and that is quite interesting from theoretical point of view, but it doesn't necessarily put black under much pressure. So the Grunfeld, just for uh, your information, is d4, knight f6, c4, sorry, c4, g6, and now knight c3, d5, and next black plays bishop g7. There are many moves for white, e3, knight f3, h4 is even there, a very interesting move, and cd4 is also there. But anyways, so this is kind of a reversed Grunfeld, and after e6 castles, cd4, Ding plays knight takes d4, and Gukesh plays here a very interesting move, knight g7. He's threatening to play knight d4 next, and after queen takes d4 he is going to play knight c6, hitting the queen on d4 and trying to gain a tempo. So after c4, black plays knight takes d4, queen d4, and now knight c6 as Gukesh had planned. So Ding drops back with his queen to d1. Maybe a stronger move would have been queen d3, but I think something like knight e5 is there. But maybe white has enough compensation for the pawn because the c4 pawn is falling. But somehow engine was showing that queen d3 is a slightly better choice, but it's hard. So queen d1, a more natural and human move. Gukesh plays d4, taking more space in the center with this pawn move, and after e3 he plays bishop c5, threatening to play on e3 to ruin back white's pawn structure, because after d3 bishop e3 he wants to take on e3, and after fe3 he's going to white is going to have this very weak isolated pawn on e3. So Ding takes on d4 and exchanges off his weakness, and after d4 bishop d4, knight c3, and castles. Ding plays knight b5 here, trying to tell that the bishop to go away somewhere, and here Gukesh plays bishop b6, which is an inaccuracy, because I think e5 would have been a stronger choice, trying to develop the bishop to e6 fast, and black has a slight advantage in development, but let's say after knight d4, I think knight d4 is a better move. White has the double bishop advantage, but black has a very clear counterplay, and bishop e6, rook c8, and then b5 is coming, and I think the advantage is not so substantial. But Gukesh plays bishop b6 here, which loses important time, and Ding here goes for b3. Ding should have gone here queen e2 to play rook d1 here, challenging the queen on d8, and this was a far more fighting choice for white, and this is because black currently has huge problem in developing his c8 bishop, because the c6 pawn is kind of blocking it, and if he plays something like e5, then after something like rook d1, queen e7, there is some crazy ideas with knight d6, and let's say bishop e6, then I can already think of something like knight b7 sacrifices, I believe. But even something like bishop e3 might be possible. But anyways, after Ding plays b3, which is kind of not the best move. He was kind of prophylactical in this position. He was trying to say that after queen e7 he has bishop a3, and the thing is that he's spinning the queen and the rook in this diagonal, and after bishop c5 white can play bishop c5 and then queen c5, and now maybe something like queen d6 is a good move. And in this endgame white is clearly better. He has great pawn mass on the queen side, and queen side pawn majority, and this bishop is still not going to develop anytime soon. The rook is going to come to d1 and kind of try to penetrate on the d file, and this bishop is looking very strongly on this diagonal, making it very difficult for black to develop with something like b6, because the c6 knight will be hanging, and the bishop on c8 can't move because the b7 pawn is hanging. So Gukesh correctly plays a6 here, and after Ding plays knight c3 and bishop d4, and now bishop b2. Now Gukesh plays e5, trying to develop his pieces, which is quite natural, and after queen d2 we have bishop e6, and here Ding plays knight d5, trying to exchange off all the pieces on the board and simplify the position a bit. And this d5 square is very juicy for white, but black says that he can play around the knight, and he can play something like f6 in the future, and then something like queen e8, rook d8, and it's a fine position for black, but he needs to be a bit careful because it's easier to play as white. So Gukesh lashes out in the center. He plays b5, which kind of indirectly puts more pressure in the center on the d5 knight, because after cb5 there is the d5 knight will be hanging. But here Ding plays c takes b5 anyways, and his point is that after bishop takes d5, let's say he has b takes c6, or maybe bishop c6, queen c6 and b takes c6, and sorry for that, bishop d5, bishop d5, queen d5, b takes c6, queen takes c6, and now black is going to be a pawn down after e4, queen d4, because clearly after rook d8 there is queen c3, which loses a piece because the queen is out of the pin, and now the queen is hanging, and next move whatever black plays, white is just going to save his bishop. Anyways, after cb5 was a bit of an inaccuracy because Gukesh played ab5, and now white is forced to liquidate, and he has this new weakness on the a file. The a2 pawn is weak because it can never go to a4, because after takes the resulting pawn on a4 will be very very weak. And so what Ding instead should have done here, I think, is he could have taken on d4 takes, and now strike in the center with f4, and maybe this was a way to continue for Ding, and I believe Ding did not do it because it's slightly more complex, and he just wanted to end the game in a draw, and he told that he's quite tired after round 13. But anyways, cb5 is also fine, but after ab5 it's already black who is trying to play for the win. So after knight f4, a good move, because after ef4 there is bishop takes c6, and that's what was played in the game. Bishop b2, queen b2, rook b8 protecting the b5 pawn, and after rook f d1 Gukesh plays queen b6, and now Ding plays bishop f3. After f takes, h takes, and pretty normal position was reached, and Gukesh says that I am just going to fix this pawn of yours on a2, because if it moves I'll just take, this b3 pawn will be weak, and with all the pieces looking down this on this b3 pawn, it is going to fall for sure. But Ding says, okay, you can take my pawn on b3, but I have enough compensation here, and that's why like it's not enough compensation, but even after he takes it, the game will be drawn, because there are a lot less pieces on the board. After g6, Ding is playing queen d4. He's deliberately offering Gukesh to take his pawn, because after takes, there is bishop d5, and if Gukesh plays bishop takes d5, then after rook d5 this game is a well-known draw, and we saw Ding held 3 versus 2 rook pawn endgame yesterday, and it also this is a pretty simple draw in this position as well. And after bishop d5 is if black is playing something like bishop c2, trying to keep more tension in the position. Then after rook c4 and rook c7, white has enough counterplay on putting pressure on the f7 pawn. So Gukesh correctly plays queen b5. He senses that he doesn't have any problem in this position, and he can just safely try to put more pressure, and Ding just gives up his pawn by pushing it to b4. And after queen b4, rook b4, he plays rook 8, bishop 8. Now, this position is for sure a completely drawn position, but if you look at this bishop is excellently placed on e6, and if it gets into this diagonal, it's going to be disastrous for white. But the problem is white is never going to leave this diagonal with this light square bishop, and thus the only way of putting pressure for black is maybe pushing his pawns h5, g5, and maybe h4 in the future. And this is what exactly Gukesh did, and he had this position where he could press on a bit. It's of course draw at the elite level. No one can grind out a win here, not even Carlsen, unless white is playing a very, very decisive blunder. But it's of course a very comfortable way to play, and it was kind of interesting to see how Gukesh is putting pressure on Ding. So after g5, bishop d5 was played, offering a trade of bishops, after which the endgame is of course drawn. But Gukesh says no, I want to play on bishop f5, rook c1, king g7, rook c7, bishop g6. Ding offers a trade of rooks, which is after which the game is also drawn. And so naturally Gukesh says no, I want to play on. He plays rook b1 check, king g2, rook e1, and imagine maybe this was one of the ways that white could lose. Let's say rook d1, rook c5, and you have maybe a few seconds to spot the win for black. Yeah, it's rook takes d5, rook d5, and bishop e4 check, threatening the king and the rook is gone. Black is clearly winning, but of course Ding won't be blundering in such a way. So Gukesh plays rook e1, Ding plays rook b4, just waiting, h5, and notice how this rook on b4 is very strong, because it's preventing black from pushing g4, h4, sorry, because after h4 takes, there will always be rook takes h4 in the end, equalizing the position completely. So Ding plays rook f4, maintaining his rook on the 4th rank. After rook e5, bishop f3 was played. Gukesh plays king h6, no rush. King g1, rook e6, rook c4, g4, bishop d5 was played, rook d6, bishop b7, and here Gukesh plays king g5. Ding plays f3 and trying to exchange off a few pawns. Gukesh was actually threatening to play h4, but it was not such a big threat anyways, because I think white could have just taken there, and it was a clear draw. But after f3, f5 takes, rook b4 was played in the game, and notice how this rook is working so well here. It's guarding this f4 square, and if at any moment black is playing something like f4, he can take with the rook, and even he cannot support this f4 move, because let's say after this and f4, there is always rook takes, f4 takes, and this is a clearly drawn position. So after bishop f7 was played, Gukesh played bishop f7, and after king f2, Gukesh plays rook d2 check, king g1, king f6. Now black is just having some fun in this position, and here is the position where I feel that Ding made a slight inaccuracy, because he played bishop 8, and it's kind of trapping the bishop, like maybe bishop c6 was a slightly better move, because it keeps the bishop open, and this is a very important factor which we'll look at in the towards the end of the game. It's kind of the deciding factor actually. But Ding does not say it's in danger, and in the game actually we saw him going to the players lounge and he's like chilling kind of. But after bishop 8, Gukesh plays king f6, and here Ding plays rook f4, king f5, king e5, and here this position is quite interesting actually. Now Gukesh's plan is to play something like bishop b3, bishop c2, bishop e4, reroute his bishop to e4. That's kind of his winning plan. And let's say white Ding plays something like rook f4. Okay, so Gukesh can play bishop a2, rook f4 again, bishop b1, rook f4, and now bishop e4. And this is quite an interesting position because after, let's say, takes, this position should be, actually I'm just curious. Yeah, this position is actually winning for black, because black's rook is very active, this king is very passive, and black is just going to push the pawn on e3. Let's say rook c4, e3, and white has to stop this pawn, so he comes back rook c1, and after king e4, king f3, king g3 is falling, and it's a win for black. But I think Ding should have played rook f4, and after something like bishop a2, he could have played something like rook a5 check, trying to push the king away. And after since king d4 or something like that is not playable because rook f5, the pawn is falling, Gukesh had to play something like king f6, and after that Ding could have come back to his favorite square, the fourth rank, with rook f4, and after bishop b1 he could have played something like bishop c6 maybe, and after king e5 threatening to play the bishop to e4, something like rook f5 is coming, and I believe here the pawn is guarded, so maybe he can play king d4, but white has just rook b5. We're forcing the trade of rooks, and that's a clearly drawn position. Or maybe it's not. Yeah, takes, and now bishop e4. What can white do? Maybe not bishop e4, just king e3. Yeah, it's already a very tricky position for white as well, because black is threatening to go king f3, and if he stops something like bishop c6, bishop e4 is coming, and king f3 is coming next. And anyways, if white plays something like king g2, there is always bishop e4 check, and after this king f2 is coming. And the point is, after something like bishop c4, black has f4 takes, and g3, and g2, g1 queen is unstoppable. So it's already a pretty precarious situation for white. Sorry. Yeah, it's very interesting how Gukesh found winning chances in this position. Yeah, I'm finding it now quite difficult to defend as white. But anyways, here Ding played a move that just threw away his world championship hopes. Ding was chilling in the lounge. He came back, and in just 10 or 15 seconds he lashed out with rook f2. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Ding again crumbles under pressure. Just like we saw in the 11th game, he blundered a knight in one move. He blundered the match in this position with rook f2. Oh my god. The point is, with this bishop, it's on a8. There is just one other square where if the bishop was on h1, it's also losing, and this a8 bishop. If the bishop was on any other square in this board, except of course in front of these squares, in front of the pawns and the bishops, it is a clear draw. But Ding plays this, and after rook f2, king f2, bishop d5, and there is no way to save the bishop for white. And after we exchange into an endgame, this is a clearly lost position for white, because after king e3, king e5, let's say the black gets the opposition. Otherwise, if uh, white had no moves to play, then it's a draw, of course. But white can play king d3 and f4, and after king e2, not fg3. Fg3 is a draw because of king f1, and this is a well-known draw. You have to play f3, and this pawn is queening, and it's a win for black. Yeah, as simple as that. Just one move, and Ding is gone. All the efforts he put into this World Championship match all went down the drain. Yeah, you could call it luck or you could call it exhaustion for Ding. And I am really impressed by how Gukesh managed to put pressure on Ding throughout the match that forced him into playing rook f2. And this marked the 18th world champion, the 18-year-old Gukesh Dommaraju from India. Oh my god. This is just insane chess. This is insane. Yeah, and it's really interesting, and I'm so happy for Gukesh that he won the World Championship match. And yeah, at just 18 years old, it's so immense. Like he could control his nerves at 18 years old. It's really tough, man. And yeah, I saw his determination like 1.5 years ago while we were going to play in Menorca around, uh, and we were waiting to board our flight in at Mallorca airport, and all of us players were doing something, checking reels or wasting our time on YouTube or something. But Gukesh was sitting with his father and trying to solve a position on his tablet, and it surely shows him how determined he is for chess and how much he loves it. And it's only his discipline that fetched him this victory. Yeah, Ding was of course not at his best, but yeah. Now, what does it mean exactly for Indian chess? I hope there are more tournaments in India, and apart from the elite players, let's say the top 10 or 15 in India, I hope other chess players are doing financially better, because mostly uh, what chess players earn from is like chess coaching, because tournaments, a lot of tournaments are there, but there's just cutthroat competition there. And yeah, I hope there are more stronger tournaments in India, because the ones that are happening nowadays, it's like really hard for to score norms, especially GM norms, and most players have to play abroad to get these norms, and those are very expensive trips. And I hope chess is promoted in India very well, and I hope this victory improves Indian chess not only at the elite level, but also Indian chess as a whole. Yeah, excellent time for Indian chess, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And who do you think is going to be the next World Championship challenger to Gukesh? I think personally it's going to be Erigesi, and it will be very interesting to see the match between them. So you can write down in the comment section below who you think is going to be the next challenger. And yeah, if you like this video, check out the my video on game 12 analysis over there. And yeah, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and yeah, uh, I hope everyone is in cloud 9, and I hope that Indian chess reaches the same level of recognition as Indian cricket. uh, and yeah, goodbye everyone. Hare Krishna.